Today we will discuss DC profiles. In this episode, we will discuss rapper Tired4Ki. Tired4Ki aka. Trevon Devore is a rapper from the Southwest P Street area who adopted the name Tired4Ki after P Street member Ki, also known as Number 9, would be killed. A man is dead, and a 17-year-old boy was taken to the hospital after a double shooting Saturday night in DC, according to authorities. DC. Police say they responded to a shooting in the 300 block of P Street, SW, at around 9:20 p.m. 18-year-old Kyrie Amar Ledbetter of DC and the teen were found in the 1400 block of 4th Street, SW, and taken to the hospital conscious and breathing, police say. Ledbetter later died from his injuries, according to officials. They say the 17-year-old's injuries are non-life-threatening. A lookout for a black man between 5 feet, 6 inches to 5 feet, 8 inches tall, wearing a black hoodie with facial hair was issued. This was one of 3 separate shootings in DC on Saturday. P Street was closed between 3rd and 4th Street SW as authorities investigated but has since reopened. No suspects would ever be arrested for 9's murder. Another person Tired4Ki mentions is Butta, even having a song named Long Live Butta. Butta is P Street member who used to allegedly terrorize the southwest side of DC before he would be shot and killed in the 600 block of 46th Place Southeast, August 6, 2020, after a teen got into an altercation with him and would hit at him, causing him to pass. The suspect of Buda's passing would go out Cali and become most wanted.
Armed, dangerous, and on the run, a teenager accused of killing a man and evading capture for nearly a year.
Tonight, Maryland's most wanted, Dan Lamparello explains where he may be hiding out and why investigators fear he may pull the trigger again if he's not found soon.
Just 18 years old and accused of murder. And the U.S. Marshals Service says Dron Young already has a criminal past. And it's their worry that if he's done it before, it's only a matter of time before he does it again. It was a hot summer day in August of last year in the heart of Washington, D.C. Children, families, cooling off with an ice cream when a callous crime struck a chord.
In broad daylight, in front of a lot of people.
4 shots, and it was over. A community scarred as a man just about to eat from the truck now lies dead in the street, and an alleged killer was on the run.
The hardest part is trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together.
Tony Gauze with the U.S. Marshals Service says they believe the man who pulled the trigger is Dron Young, a targeted act of violence. They're still trying to figure out the motivation behind.
They had a conversation for quite some time, and the conversation turned hostile, and it was a little physical altercation between the two.
After Young allegedly fired the fatal shots, he took off and has been hiding out ever since.
The firearm is still out there, he's still out there, and that's a bad combination.
Young was a juvenile at the time. The marshals say he not only has ties to the DC Metro, but also to Baltimore and Howard counties. But the now 18-year-old could have also fled the state, possibly to New York City, where he has family.
Somebody, friends, family, someone helped him get possibly to New York if he's still not in this area. But even just to get around, somebody's helping him.
But no matter where he's hiding, the marshals say he still stands out, thanks to this distinctive scar on his right jawline.
Unless he grows a beard, it's hard to hide. Some things you can hide, some change, but some things you can't.
And the same goes for Young's actions, which the marshals say leave the communities he may be in more vulnerable. Every day, he remains on the streets. If he's not found soon, do you fear he'll pull the trigger again?
It's a possibility. It's a possibility. It's all about public safety. If it happened once, it's nothing to say that it may or may not happen again. But to make sure that that's not the case, we want to see him behind bars.
Take a good look again. Dron Young is 18 years old. He's seen here with short hair, but investigators say he may have grown that out. Again, though, his most distinctive feature is this scar right there, right below his lip on his right jawline. Now, while Young may have fled to the New York City area, he still has ties to D.C. and Baltimore. So if you have any idea where Drayon Young can be found, please call the U.S. Marshal Service. Their number is right there. And as we've said throughout this entire story, investigators fear that Drayon Young is armed and dangerous, and that's why they're offering up a nearly $36,000 reward for his successful capture and prosecution. Again, any tips that you provide can remain anonymous. I'm Dan Lamparello, Fox 45 News.
Before dropping the song Long Live, Butta Tired4Ki would allegedly spank a man some months before. May 17, 2021, Daqual, Covington is shot and killed near Nats Park. A 27-year-old man was fatally shot Monday night in a southwest Washington neighborhood near Nationals Park, according to D.C. police. The shooting occurred about 10:15 p.m. in the first block of O Street SW, near South Capitol Street. Police identified the victim as Daqual Covington of Northeast Washington. Authorities said he was pronounced dead at the scene. No other details were made public. Tuesday, the shooting occurred across from an entrance to the ballpark. The team was not playing at home at the time. Now we will go over the paperwork. On Monday, May 17, 2021, at approximately 22:17 hours, members of the Metropolitan Police Department's MPD 1st District received a radio run to respond to 65 O Street Southwest to investigate the sounds of gunshots in that area. Additionally, the ShotSpotter detection system alerted to the sounds of 1111 gunshots at 44 O Street Southwest. Upon arrival to the scene by MPD officers, the decedent, later identified by his identification card as Daqual Covington, date of birth of December 15, 1993, was located on the ground between the sidewalk and the street, bleeding from the head in front of 65 O Street Southwest. Arriving officers found the decedent unconscious and not breathing. District of Columbia's Fire and Emergency Medical Services, DCFEMs, Medic 3 and Engine 7 responded to the scene. After all life-saving efforts were unsuccessful, the decedent was pronounced dead at 22:35 hours by the medics under the authority of Dr. Holman of FEMS. The descendant remained on the scene during the initial examination of the scene by members of the Department of Forensic Sciences, DFS. Members of MPD's Homicide Branch responded to the scene and initiated an investigation of this offense, which included an examination of evidence at the scene, interviews with witnesses, and review of surveillance video. Members of the Department of Forensic Sciences responded to the scene for the processing and seizing of evidence. A canvass for evidence in the immediate area of the shooting resulted in locating 11 .45 caliber expended cartridge casings at the northeast corner of 1st and O Street Southwest. Members of the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, OCME, responded to the scene and conducted an initial examination of the decedent's remains prior to being transported to the OCME for an autopsy. The initial examination revealed that the decedent suffered a single gunshot wound to the upper right side of his back. The following day, May 18, 2021, an autopsy was conducted by Dr. Breland of the decedent's remains and determined that the decedent was shot once in the back and the bullet struck his spinal cord. The cause of death was a gunshot wound to the back, and the manner of death was ruled a homicide. While on the scene, members of MPD's Homicide Branch were advised that access to view housing authority cameras in the immediate area was available. Detectives responded to the Housing Authority headquarters and reviewed video which showed that at approximately 22:17 hours, 4 subjects are captured traveling westbound in the unit block of O Street, southwest on the sidewalk across the street, south sidewalk, from where the decedent was standing, north sidewalk. 3 of the subjects are walking and 1 is riding a bicycle. When they approach the northeast corner of 1 and O Street Southwest, where the expended cartridge casings are later found, they turn right, northbound, onto $1 Street Southwest. 3 of the 4 subjects continue traveling northbound on Is Street, but as they get a few feet away, one of the subjects, here in after suspect 1, turns back towards the comer and reaches inside of or beside a black in-color satchel he is carrying along the right side of his body and brandishes a silver handgun with his right hand. Suspect 1 then faces the direction of the decedent, extends both of his arms while holding the firearm, and points and then fires in the direction of the decedent. At least 1 muzzle flash is captured on video. As suspect 1 prepares to flee the scene, it appears that he puts the firearm into the satchel he is carrying. Additional camera angles affixed to the housing authority properties are reviewed. A camera affixed to the front of 1360 Is Street Southwest captures the Coast Yard and shows suspect 1 and 2 of the subjects that were also traveling on foot walk across the courtyard in the direction of the adjacent alley alongside the row houses in the 1300 block of $1 Street Southwest. At this alley, at approximately 22:18 hours, an additional camera captures suspect 1 and subjects 2 and 3 walk to the rear of 1330 Street Southwest, target location. As they approach the rear of the residence, an adult male, later identified as Witness 2, and a juvenile, later identified as Witness 5, open the door. Subjects 2 and 3 then enter the residence through the rear, and suspect 1, who is following, also enters the residence. The subjects close the door immediately after entering. At approximately 2:28 hours, approximately 11 minutes after the murder, a camera which captures the rear of 1330 First Street Southwest and the rear door to 1330 L'Est Street Southwest shows suspect 1 and subjects 2 and 3 leaving the residence wearing different clothing and walking northbound towards N Street Southwest. None of the 3 subjects are captured carrying the black satchel suspect 1 stored the firearm in. 1 minute later, suspect 1 and subjects 2 and 3 return. Again, at 22:32 hours, the 3 subjects exit via the rear of the residence and do not return prior to the residence being secured by members of MPD at approximately 49 hours on May 18, 2021. Suspect 1, who is later identified as Trevon Alone DeVore and referred to as defendant, as viewed in the surveillance videos, is described as a black male wearing a dark, possibly black and collar hooded sweater with a large light-colored design on the chest, which appears to be a skull. The back of the sweater has green and color writing which states, "Root of all evil." Suspect 1 is also carrying a dark-colored satchel and wearing black in-color pants with a light-colored belt and black shoes with a silver or gray tab on the top near where the shoelaces and front of the shoe meet. A lanyard or keychain is seen dangling on the left side of his pants near the waist. Subject 2, who was previously riding the bicycle as viewed in the surveillance videos, is described as a black male wearing a black hooded sweater with a multicolored design on the hood and illegible words or design along the left cisive, a light-colored tab or writing near the area of the right wrist, black pants and black with gold Jordan 12 shoes. Subject 3, as viewed in the surveillance videos, is described as a black male, wearing a face mask which covers his head and bottom portion of his face, a black hooded sweater with a design on the front which covers the chest, black pants with white or light-colored drawstrings, and black shoes with white soles. In the early morning of Tuesday, May 18, 2021, and while the premises, 1331 Street, Southwest, Washington, D.C., was still secured by a member of MPD, An emergency search warrant was applied for by your affiant and issued by District of Columbia Superior Court Judge Edelman for the entire residence of 1331 Street Southwest, Washington, D.C. Prior to the execution of the search warrant, and while members of MPD were securing the location, a male subject later identified as the defendant ran inside the residence. The search warrant was executed and the persons present in the home were the defendant, his mother hereinafter identified as Witness 1, his two juvenile sisters hereinafter identified as Witness 3 and Witness 4, and his juvenile brother hereinafter identified as Witness S. Witness 2 was also in the premises. However, he was observed exiting the home prior to execution of the search warrant and stopped by members of MPD. The following is an inventory of what was seized during the search of 1330 1 Street Southwest, Washington, D.C. A black hooded sweater which matches the description of the sweater worn by Suspect 1 during the murder. The front of the sweater has a studded skull, and the back of the sweater has green writing which states, "Root of all Evil." This sweater was located in a backpack inside the closet of the defendant's bedroom. The backpack also contained a TD bank statement addressed to Trevon Alante DeVore, 1330 East Street, Southwest, Washington, D.C. B, a pair of black Nike shoes, which matches the description of the shoes worn by Suspect 1 during the murder, with a silver or gray tab on the top near where the shoelaces and front of the shoe meet. The shoes were located on the floor of the defendant's bedroom. C, a black or dark brown colored Louis Vuitton satchel, which matches the description of the satchel worn by Suspect 1 during the murder, with a flapped cover and a zipper around the bag's edge. The satchel was located inside of the defendant's bedroom, hanging on the handle of closet door. D, a black-colored hooded sweater with multicolors and camouflage design on the hood, which matches the description of the hooded sweater worn by Subject 2. The sweater also has a camouflage design on the back side of the left sleeve. This sweater was located in a common area closet at the top of the stairs, a black hooded sweater with a multicolor design on the front. The design is of a bear holding a snake sitting beside lettered blocks, with the letters A, B, and C on their front. Below the design it states, "Always be careful." This sweater matches the description of the hooded sweater worn by Subject 3. This sweater was also located in a common area closet at the top of the stairs. Additionally, while the aforementioned search warrant was being executed, the occupants of the residence were stopped and separated. At this time, detectives of MPD's Homicide branch spoke with them. The defendant was spoken with briefly. His demeanor was evasive during the interview. When asked for his biographical information such as name, address, and phone number, he stated that he did not have a phone. He was asked where he was the night before, night of shooting, and he advised he was in Bowie, MD, at his girlfriend's home. However, he stated that he didn't know his girlfriend's address. When asked how he traveled to Bowie, MD, he stated that his girlfriend picked him up. However, he claimed to not know the make or model of his girlfriend's car. He also stated he could not recall what time he left his home. Detectives asked Trevon how he returned home, and he stated that he took an Uber. However, when asked how he ordered the Uber, he stated that he did not know and could not recall. It was later learned, and described below, that an Uber was sent by Witness 1 during the early morning of May 18, 2021, while the home was secured by MPD to an address in Hyattsville, MD. The detectives then confronted the defendant and informed him that he had been captured on video participating in a shooting and was seen wearing a black hooded sweater with green writing on the back. Detective Brodor asked where the hooded sweater was in the home. In response, Trevon stated that he did not wish to answer any additional questions without a lawyer. Witness 1 was interviewed briefly on the scene. Initially, witness 1 did not wish to identify herself or provide her cellular phone number. However, once advised that cellular phones from the residence would be seized and returned once an owner is identified after being searched by either consent or a search warrant, witness 1 stated that she owned an iPhone cellular phone which was in her bedroom and provided the telephone number. Witness 1 then identified herself and identified people that reside at 1331 Street Southwest as the defendant, witness 5, and witnesses 3 and 4. Detectives explained that during the investigation, someone was observed removing trash from the house via the back of the home, and she refused to provide the name of the male and identified him as her friend. This person was later identified as witness 2 and interviewed. When asked whom else entered the home during the time law enforcement was outside of her residence, she refused to answer the question. After some time, another detective spoke with witness 1, and she provided consent to search her phone, which was seized from her bedroom. Initially, when asked who owned the Android cellular phone in her bedroom, she did not answer. Later, she stated that her phone was the iPhone and the other phone may belong to her friend, witness 2. Witness 2 was later interviewed, and during the interview he had his phone in his possession. Therefore, the phone recovered from witness 1's bedroom was not his. Witness 1's phone was processed and its data extracted. A review of the data was conducted by your affiant, which revealed that in the phone's contact list was a number stored with the name First Son, associated with telephone number 202-878-3069. From an interview with witness 1, she stated that her eldest son is Trevon. Additionally, on May 23, 2021 at 17:16, hours a text message was sent from witness 1 to 282-878-3069, First Son. The message stated Trey, and the contact Ist Son responded, "You good ma." From your affiant's experience, it is known that people named Trayvon or Trevon are often nicknamed Trey or Trey. On May 18, 2021, after the murder and while members of MPD were securing the defendant's home address of 1330 First Street, SW, but before he returned inside the premises prior to execution, phone calls were made between witness 1 and the number associated with Trey. Allegedly Tired4Ki was involved in 2 separate homicides, one in Hyattsville, Maryland, and one in Southwest DC in 2019. No updates have been made in the Tired4Ki arrest so far. That's the end of this episode of DC Profiles. Like, comment, subscribe. Follow Strafing DMV on Instagram for all updates and uncensored videos.